Good afternoon and welcome to More Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today I have for you the G.I. Joe Classified Series, His H.M.S. with Techno Viper. This is a companion piece to the Haslab Hisstank, and I'm going to really talk about the Techno Viper first because I've got a lot to say about them. And then I'm going to talk about the H.M.S. system because I don't have very many things negative to say about the H.M.S. system, but I got some negative stuff to say about Techno Viper and the interaction between the two. So, without further ado, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. My cat Cream is over here napping. He may show up, he may not. He's already shown up for 2 previous showings of this video. Been doing a big recording day trying to get it right. But Cream's over here napping away. Yeah, like a big napper. And yeah, let's get right into it. And I'm gonna set the HMS system here actually off. I'm just gonna put it down away from us for a minute. There we go. We're gonna set it down here out of the way so that we can really, put a lot of effort into this and you won't be distracted by other things. So let's talk about Techno first. Techno Viper here is an amazing, he's a good figure. I say that and he falls over backwards. Well, let's just say that if it wasn't for his accessories, he would be one really amazing figure. But without the accessories he comes with, this is a top-notch G.I. Joe classified figure. I gotta give it to him. Once again, without including the accessories, this is a good figure, okay? He's got some wonderful articulation. He's got all the articulation you come to love and expect from G.I. Joe Classified Series. No pins in the joints, all pinless joints. Even the drop-down hinges and stuff like that. The sculpt work on this guy is superb. But I've come to expect and appreciate that from the G.I. Joe Classified line. That was the original reason I even picked it up, was because compared to Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe Classified figures feel better in the hand. They've got more textures. They got more stuff going on them than a Marvel Legends figure even dreams of. So, we got this wonderful boot that comes up to the, by the way, there's very, very little sculpting on the underside of the foot. And that's usually your sign that something's going to be weird about this figure, is if they don't sculpt the underside of the shoe very well, there's going to be something odd about this figure that you're going to have to look out for. And that's the case here. Wonderful texture on the pants. It's a woolen fabric of some sort. It's all tucked into the boot. So there's plenty of wrinkled fabric around the top of the boot, which is really nice. The knee is excellent. I love the knee pads. Really great on all of that stuff. The sculpt work on this guy is awesome. I love all of this sculpt work. Coming up here to the belt, we've got a wonderful belt that's got some really great textures in it. It feels like it's a leather belt, or at least something. There's a nice metal, what feels like it could be a metal, clasp on the front of the belt. Really well done. Little things on the sides, little compartments where you can store things. Really nice, really nice. I love the thighs, the texture on the thighs. There's so many different textures on this. Even on the inside of the leg, there's textures going on in there, and I love it. I love how they sculpted everything about this, and that is where G.I. Joe Classified will always thrive. Coming up here to the chest, we've got a smooth chest. It feels smooth as silk, but at the same time, it feels thicker. Like you can actually feel some of his muscles and stuff underneath this. They textured that in, they sculpted that in, but you can also feel like this is some sort of bulletproof fabric or something like that. Like it's thicker, it's heavier, so the muscle tone underneath it is very, very subpar, very, very small, very limited muscle tone. You can feel it in there though. You can. And I like the hoses that you can feel coming out the side of him. Down here, this is the hose that comes out from his side of his gut, and it comes around and plugs directly into his back. This one just comes around on his shoulder. Really cool stuff. Coming up to his helmet is my favorite part is his helmet. I love this helmet. And this helmet's it's so much, it's just cool. It's like Darth Vader, meets Crimson Guard. That's how it feels. It's like, Crimson Guard and Darth Vader got together and they made a helmet, and that's what this one is. It's neat. Got that big front on it and fun vents. It's a fun helmet. This guy is a fun figure, at least when it comes to all the stuff that you can feel on the figure itself. Coming down here to the arms, we've got plenty of sculpting into these. The little pauldrons he's got actually raise up with the arm, and they have these little rubberized hooks on the underside of them, which is an appropriate use of rubber in my opinion. And they hook onto the bicep and the tricep area so that when you raise the arm up, this thing doesn't just flop everywhere. It just goes down the length of the arm. And then when you lower the arm, it goes up the length of the arm. That is some cool engineering there. And I like the textures on these pauldrons. It feels like they're armored or something. There's some fun. There's like a little weird feeling thing right there. What is that? What is that? That feels interesting. And over here on the other arm, we've got the similar stuff, but it's not exactly the same. It's a little bit on the asymmetrical side. Coming over here to his forearms, I just removed the holographic display. This forearm, both of his arms are the same. There's nothing asymmetrical going on here. It's all symmetrical. There's his little computer screen, like what we saw with some other G.I. Joes and stuff. Occasionally they've had these computers on their arms, and this one has a little socket there. You can plug in this effect. And I wonder how many other figures, and over the months I'll go through them, and I'll see how many other figures have little computers that also have a slot to plug this into. I'm wondering if there's a cross brand action going on with these little holographic things that plug in. So maybe you could have a bunch of these little plug-ins and have them switch and match between different characters. That's kind of a neat thing, and I hope they do that. The big difference on this guy when it comes to articulation is his hands are both side to side. Neither of them are up and downers. And then his core has got a really solid core crunch. Really solid there. Like it. And it even clicks forward on the front, clicking back, and he's got a ball joint in there, so he can do some hula hooping action going on with that stuff. It's nice stuff. It's good stuff. I like the fact you can like lean him back sideways and lean sideways like that. That's stuff we didn't really get in older figures, and it's really neat now. Now that I've talked about the figure and all I love about him, let's pull off his accessories and let's have a conversation. Okay, so pulling this accessory off his back. There we go. Let's first talk about his pistol and get that out of the way because that's the only thing sticking on his body. Actually, we'll talk about the Flappy Doodle. You watched my video on how to make this, the blind box opening video. I called this a Flappy Doodle because I didn't know what it was. This is it's not ABS plastic, and this isn't rubber. I don't know what it is, but it's similar to rubber, and it feels like ABS, but it has a bend to it. You can bend it without snapping it, but I don't advise it. You may warp it, but that's just an FYI. And it's a fun little holographic accessory. I don't know what it shows. Let me know in the comments below. What in the world is shown on this accessory? What is he looking at? What is he looking at? Anyway, I'm going to set that off to the side, and we'll just leave the guy down here. Techno Viper can hang out there while we talk about his accessories, the other ones. The backpack, he has 3 tools, and his gun. So first off, I want to mention that this gun does fit the blast effects that come with your Bandai Gundam Universe Gundam action figures. You can find them in the collection section and the electronics at Walmart and Target. Anyway, they all come with this laser sword effect, and it does plug perfectly into the laser rifle. So now you've got a nice little beam going on. That's a really long one too. Really fun beam effect going on. I do wish that Bandai wouldn't make them so long, but it's okay. They were trying to get the length of the swords, and I understand that. Let me go ahead and pull this thing off of its hose, which, by the way, it looks like this thing has 2 handles on it, but it only has 1 handle. The other handle's actually not a handle. It's where the hose connects. And I tried to get him to hold it with the handle too, but there's just not the spacing's wrong between these 2 parts, and it's very difficult to get him to hold it. And when he does, the gun's butt just kind of sticks off on the side. It just doesn't work. This gun is my my first, and I have a second least favorite. But this is my first least favorite. Number 1, it's rubberized. And by watching this channel, I immediately hate it. Number 2, it's heavy. It's actually too heavy for Techno Viper. He can hold it, but this joint in his arm, look at the looseness in him. Okay, he's got some looseness in that arm. And, you get him to hold it, and it would just collapse eventually. This is not a great weapon, and it does suck. Like, look at that. You got him plugged in, and then you just the shoulder is already seeing wear and tear from me having him carry this weapon because the weapon is too heavy for the joints. And this is a part that I'm wondering. Like, I praise the engineering at Hasbro, but Hasbro engineers, how did you screw this one up? Who didn't do the math here? Who went, this weapon can't weigh 4 grams because 4 grams is too heavy for the joint on the arm? Nobody did that. They just went, well, we'll make it out of rubber. We're going to save costs. Like, you've already raised the price of the figure by $5 since these things came out in 2019. 2019, they were $19.99. Now they're $24.99. And we got rubber weapons. I'm okay with the price going up so long as the quality stays the same. But if you're going to lower our quality, then keep the price the same. Don't don't increase the price and lower the quality at the same time. That's not how you capitalism. So hate that gun. I hate that gun with a passion, and I am very happy that Techno Viper won't ever be using the gun because Techno Viper is an engineer, darn it. So he's just going to be using his tools. Another thing I want to talk about is this hose. This is the second least favorite thing about this figure. The hose connectors are each facing away. They're facing back. So if this is on his back, then the hose is going out behind him, and the connector is facing behind him. S is an engineering fail. These connectors should have been on the sides. There should have been one on each side so that we could attach this hose on any one of them. But when you attach this hose on the back like it is, and you move it to the front, you're going to get this right angle curve going on, and you can already see it in this thing here. It's already kind of curving, and that's because of what's been happening there. I've had this figure pose, and this thing is actually permanently getting bent because of how obscene the angle is, and it's a shame. It's a shame. This backpack is ruining it. This backpack should have had this thing on the side, and since it's rubber, I can actually do this, which I hate the rubber, but you can kind of bend the point sideways, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, these 2 points at the top needed to be sideways so that we could connect it on either side of the backpack, and it wouldn't bend that hose. It wouldn't give us such a kink in the hose that you worry that one day the hose is going to break. That's not right. And then, add further insult to injury, you've got this little connector here that points straight up and down. Okay? It's too small for the hose. The hose does not, it'll go over it, but it doesn't connect. And that's another point that I'm like, why did you do that? That's actually the right size for the triggers. So why isn't this on the side of the backpack so that we could take his laser rifle here and say we do it on this side? We can't store his laser rifle on his backpack, and that is just a shame that you can't store this obscene weapon that weighs too much on the figure at all. You might as well just throw it away. And honestly, that's my advice to you. My advice to you is when you get your Techno Viper out of the box, just take this weapon right here and throw it back in the box. Or pee on it and throw it away. I don't care what you do with it, but I consider it just obscene. It's stupid, and it weighs too much. It will ruin your figure. It will ruin that joint. So please don't do it. Coming down over here to the his fun little tools. He gets 3 tools, and I was hoping he would have gotten a toolbox, but instead we got this. So we're going to set that backpack. We'll talk about the backpack real quick because there's not much more to say. I've already talked about the top of it. It's got some fun textures in it, and it's got these 3 slits cut into it that are horizontal, and that's where all the tools go. It'd been neat if they were vertical, so the tools could fit vertically in the center of the backpack, and then these connector points at the top could have been on the horizontal side. That, in my opinion, is the correct way to do this backpack. The way they did it here is just stupid. They also put the connector point for the backpack up too high so that if you put it with the handle that's on this bin sticking straight up and down like you would think it goes, it actually won't work right. Look, put him in with the handle, and the handle is going up to just about above his head, and I think that looks stupid. So you rotate it, right? And now you got these connector points sticking out on either side of his shoulder, which would have been nice. And honestly, even a different way of doing these connector points, having them just face outwards, so that they would come out on either side of his shoulder, so that you could plug the hose where's that hose? We could plug the hose coming up and over, and then it would plug directly into the thing sticking out over his shoulder. That would have also been quite interesting to experience, but we didn't get that. We got a shoddy backpack, and it really does ruin this figure. Now, coming over here to his little tools, he's got this. Let's make sure I got these correct. Okay, so he's got a grabby tool that the hose can plug into. But where's the other end of the hose going to go, huh? It's going to go into that backpack in a weird, obscene angle, and that sucks. But that's the grabby part. You can use it hydraulic grabber thing. And then we got this weird hammer. It's like a hydraulic hammer or something. And by the way, the textures and sculpt work on all of these tools is wild. And they put a lot in here, and it's more than I can really talk about in one sitting. But they did wrap the handles for each of these tools. But sadly, these tools are made out of rubber, and I do worry about the thinness of that spot breaking or breaking down eventually. If the Transformers people were worried about rubber tires breaking over time and they were not willing to put rubber tires on a Haslab project, then why are you willing to give us rubber weapons, G.I. Joe people? You get with your Transformers people and you'll have a conversation. All right? Now, all of his tools do plug in. This little pneumatic hammer thing plugs in. And then finally we have the monkey wrench, the adjustable wrench that also plugs into the hose. And that's really cool. And it would have extended the playability of this figure, in my opinion, and now we're getting to something else that I want to talk about. And we're going to talk about it first on one issue of the H.M.S. system doesn't have a single place for you to plug the Techno Viper's feet in, so that you can have him standing on top of it and repairing it, or a single place to plug in the hose. Now, the hose and the and to showcase this, we've got this weapon here. It's got the connector on the end. There's the hole that his foot goes in. So you can actually nope, you can't. I'm sorry. The connector point for the hose is actually smaller than the connector point for the foot. So they would have had to have been two different things, or you would have just had to make the connectors for the hoses a little wider, because that is a shame that we don't get that. And it's a shame that this Techno Viper, if you're posing him, is actually ruining the hose here. This hose is already getting ruined because of the fact that it's got to make such a sharp bend. And I hope if they do Techno Viper again, or anything with a hose like this, they go more on the barbecue route, because barbecue's hose came out of the side of his backpack like an intelligent person would design. So this is one of those instances where they were trying to stick so closely to what came out in the 80s that they forgot to update it. And this is the argument I have with G.I. Joe Classified series. Pick a lane. Either adhere strictly to everybody who bought toys in the 80s and likes their G.I. Joes from the 80s, or adhere strictly to the individuals like me who saw the G.I. Joes from the past, really wanted them, but could never get them. So now in my adult life, I want them, but I also want them to modernize them and fix the little problems that could have been fixed back then, but they just they didn't care enough. But nowadays, you do care enough, so fix these little issues. Please give us another Techno Viper, or individuals that do 3D printing, please contact me and let me know if you can 3D print a backpack for the Techno Viper that has hose connectors on the side and has vertical tool slots, so that the tools will sit vertically and the hose can come out the side. They just did it so backwards with this figure. It baffles me. It baffles me. Now, we're done with the Techno Viper. Let's get into the HMS system. I wanted to cover Techno Viper first because I had a lot of things to say about the Techno Viper, and the HMS system, I've got nothing but praise. Except for the one thing that I wanted, there's 2 points. Number one, hose connectors, so that the Techno Viper could plug his little hose stuff into the HMS system. That would have been cool. That would have been unique. I would have been down for that 100%. Now, I do maybe have a hack, and let's see if this will work, because, here we do like to experiment whenever Blind Prime comes up with a random crazy idea, so let's just see. No, that's too wide. There's these little holes in the legs, but they're just a little too wide to plug in into the hose. What about the front legs? Do you have any crazy holes to utilize? Well, you do have those, but nope, doesn't stick. So no sort of luck there with the hoses. But we do want to also, because we do like to try out many different things to let you know what works and what doesn't work on this cross-brand stuff. So let's grab this blast effect here. All right, we've got a blast effect from Transformers. Rotate this around. Let's see. Plug that blast effect in. Too wide for the blast effect to plug in. Cool. Good to know. Plug in the blast effect into the rear of the rockets. Too wide. But if you use some sticky tack, it would work. So that is just a little too wide, but like I said, but just a smidge of sticky tack, that could work, and I actually think that would look really nice. I mean, it feels nice to have that. You move the rocket up, and actually, if it was just a little longer, actually, wait, we can make it just a little longer. I do have another. Let's see. I need the fat one. Where is the fat one? Here's a fat one. All right, let's see if the fat one will do it. Okay, we're going to plug in the fat blast effect. It's still not quite right. But what about on this side here? If we plug in that blast effect, can it? Yeah. We can actually use gravity, and the way that it's held in here, the way the rockets are pointed up, that blast effect actually just kind of sits in there, and the underside of the H.M.S. system will stop it from falling out. So that's the way to use the Transformers blast effect. It's the big bulbous ones that come on the end of all the blast effects. So only the big ones have enough oomph to actually work in that situation, which is nice because these big ones are really heavy and they don't work for many Transformers because of just how heavy they are. They'll cause your joints to bend and stuff. But that's a fun thing you can do with Transformers blast effects if you have any. And finally, another blast effect thing I wanted to knocking stuff over here on Blind Prime all the time. Where's another blast effect? I had it over here, knocking other things over. Let's grab out this system there. Okay, knocking that guy over. I get so annoyed when I knock things over. There we go. Okay, so Cobra Commander stand. No, Cobra Commander stand. Cobra Commander stand. Nah, you just lean backwards. Fine. All right, this is another blast effect. This one comes with the anti-armor drone, and you can plug that one in very well, but it doesn't. You gotta like squeeze it in there to get it in all the way, and that does worry about the ruining the sturdiness of this rocket. Maybe doing that will cause it to split at the seams or something, or crack in a way you're not expecting. So be aware of that. If you have extra anti-armor drones, which by the way, this one's blast effect is a little wobbly now because I've had it plugged in. I need to stop getting bothered when I knock things over. I really do. I need to just, not have that affect me. I don't know why it affects me when I knock things over, but it always affects me. Maybe I was just yelled at too much as a kid about knocking things over by accident. Anyway, further going on about this, I brought out the anti-armor drone, which was our other missile system we got, and I wanted to pull out one of these missiles from the anti-armor drone and give you a size comparison. There's the anti-armor drone missile compared to the missile from the HMS. Now let's line it up perfectly. Can we get it as perfect of a line as we can? There we go. Now we're going to stack this missile on top. All right, perfect as a line as we can go. Okay, now we're going to stack this missile on top, and it is 2.5 anti-armor drone missiles tall. That's how tall these missiles are for the H.M.S. system. And honestly, this anti-armor drone, it was so pitiful when I was doing the size comparison, and I put this next to the Haslab Sentinel. I'm like, you're just such a pitiful thing compared to the Sentinel. It was wild. Anyway, that's the anti-armor drone. Really pitiful compared to this thing. Knocking things over. Let's slide all this stuff forwards because we're about to finish out this video, and I wanted to finish it out with one more thing. Okay, so what I talked about on my video where I was building this thing, blind builds, I mentioned I didn't know what these weird back bumper pieces were for. Like, I figured out the parts that you attach during the assembly were supposed to be anchors to stop the vehicle, to help the vehicle stabilize, but I wasn't sure like how they were supposed to work. I thought maybe they were supposed to like knock it backwards where it leaned on its rear, and then this rocket system could pick up and go even like a crazier distance or something like that. But no. The things I thought were just really obscenely large obscenely large bumper was actually legs that bolt down, with the front legs that fold down that we attached in the video, and when a little work, you get a nice stable flat platform. And this platform, I don't know if anyone else has talked about this, but I'll pull his backpack off because the backpack is a POS. Now, this is something that I've noticed, and you can't do it from the rear. You can only come, the figure can only really get at it from the front where this trailer hitch is, but with the legs engaged, you can slide the Techno Viper under there. So, if we gave the Techno Viper one of his tools, let's see, we'll give him this tool. All right, so he's got this tool, and let's plug it in. This is the problem with these tools. They don't like plugging into their hands because they're so rubbery. They constantly move around, and then he really can't even hold this tool unless he pulls it up more into his hand. There we go. Okay, now we're going to take the backpack here. All right, backpack. Now we've got to find the hose. There's the hose. So we're going to attach the backpack to the hose. There we go. Now we're going to attach the hose to what he's holding in his hand. Okay, come on, there it goes. It's attached. Now what we do here is we're going to slide this around so you can better see it. Cool. Okay. Now we're going to slide him under. Here we go. And there we go. All right, there we are. And because the tool's rubbery, it can fold over sideways a bit, and then you just leave the backpack hanging out here. It would have been cool if we'd had a place we could actually store the backpack on one of these legs. It'd been neat, but you can kind of get that. There's a little spot where some wafflings occurred, which you can plug the figure in. Isn't that neat? Look at that. The backpack plugs right into that spot. I'll show you where that spot's at immediately. So, unplugging the backpack. You feel where the leg you got the front end of the leg, the long one, not the short ones that were the stubby ones, the ones you actually attached. So you feel the hydraulic system for this. It sticks down and it's got the waffling on the side, which I disapprove of. Come to the spot where it connects in. You got this weird, different textured area. If you got these two lines that are really close to one another and come to the very front, and then they go up, they arch there, and then they move back and connect to these things I thought could have blast effects from transformers plugged in. So you want to go to that section, that little arch section there, and we're going to plug in the backpack to that double section. So you can actually, if you wanted to, slide it back and forth slightly, but it's a little too much. Anyway, you can do that. There you go. The backpack is attached to the leg via this little weird double spot that I don't think they even planned or realized you could do that with. It takes a blind person sometimes, but you can have them going, the hose going down in there. Now he's repairing the underside of the H.M.S. system, and I think that is fun. Okay, that's really fun. I enjoy it. I think that's that's really cool. So we'll just move those guys away, and yeah, that weapon was already getting bent up. Now let's talk about this system in depth. First off, I want to bring up the fact that the underside of it is fully textured. There's rivets. There's this weird circle thing, which is obviously the underside, the bottom half of the rotation fifth wheel for the rockets. There's that part where you could repair it if something goes wrong. There's all sorts of rivets. Of course, there's some little lettering in there, which is all that stuff that they always put on the underside of toys, but they did manage to also texture everything under here, and in a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful way, even going so far as to make me think that this was a hinge here that is actually just textured stuff. I was hoping for a minute there that we actually could pop the bottom off and store things in the bottom, but we can't. That is one of the negatives on this, in my opinion, is there's no storage for things. But let's continue talking about this. That texture underneath was nice. We got this little piece off to the side that you can pull off. That's the little computer. And interestingly enough, this computer is not the right height for a figure if the figure is, if the figure is standing at it whenever it's engaged to the trailer hitch. But whenever these little legs, the stabilizing legs, are engaged, the computer system there is at the right hand where a figure's hand could just easily reach it. And I like that. I like how they did that. It's not easily reachable whenever it's in trailer mode, but when it's in actual operation mode, then the keyboard for the operation part is within easy reach. And that is clever engineering. No? See, they do clever engineering. It's just sometimes I think they hiccup. They just have a little bit of a snafu. And that's the case with G.I. Joe Classified. There's lots of snafus here. Situation normal. All effed up. Now, the rockets, let's go ahead and do one size comparison with these rockets before I do more. There we go, size comparison. He stands up to the very end of this. There's this little bulge in the rocket that goes from the mid wings all the way, most of the way to the tip, but then it just tapers out into nothingness, and then you got smooth rocket above. That point where that bulge tapers out is at the height of the Techno Viper, just an FYI. So that gives you an idea of the height of the missile. Let's go ahead and put the missile back. You cannot switch these missiles out for the guns on the back of the vamp. I tried it. It doesn't work. Inch is a missed opportunity, in my opinion. And come on. Now, get in there. No, come on. Spend all the time plugging these guys in, and oh, it's backwards again. Blind people problems. All right, there it goes. Plugged in perfectly well. It does not plug in when you're doing it backwards. By the way, you can't do that. So finally, let's finish up with talking about this thing's access as a trailer. So you fold all this stuff up. You've got the same exact wheels that came with the vamp, if you got the vamp. To all those people who didn't get the vamp, I am so sorry that Hasbro did you that way. They said that they'd be doing vehicles for mainline releases, and then the first big vehicle they do outside of a Haslab, it's an exclusive to Hasbro Pulse, and that was messed up. That's a poo on you, Hasbro, right there for the vamp. That was you basically lied to people there. Now let's going to move all these things off to the side and set that the H.M.S. there. We're going to remove the handy dandy Wii Fit pad that I use as my stage because it's too small for the Hisstank. Now, interestingly enough, you would think that since the Hisstank is so large that you fold the you have to use the trailer hitch at its upper point where it's folded up. But no, you actually have to fold this thing down and get it low to the ground so that it attaches to the Hisstank. Now let's move the Cobra Commander out of the way. I'm just going to set him over here. Go ahead and fall because I know you want to. Yep, you did. No. Just stand, please. And stand, please. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and back this thing up. Back it up. There we go. Now what? Oh, of course, blast effect. Of course, this tank is so heavy it moves my my tablecloth around when I back it up. All right, now for the Haslab Hisstank, this is sublime. Okay, you fold down the trailer hitch, you bring it in, and you attach it. Just that simple. Just like that. That is beautifully simple. Now you can point the missiles towards the back of the Hisstank, or you can pick them up and rotate them and point them away from the back of the Hisstank, which honestly works a little better for weight distribution reasons. But it will unhitch you from the back of the Hisstank unless you really, unless you push that bit in there. There we go. So that's how that can work. You can do it in two ways, and though putting the missiles towards the front does balance it out a bit more, or you can raise them up slightly, and that should balance it out. Now let's go ahead and, we're just going to back up the Hisstank up real quick. Boop, 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 boop. Got to keep that trailer straight. We're going to knock Cream off the side of the table. Cream. 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 It's attacking you. He doesn't care. Typical orange cat behavior there. Am I upsetting his nap time? Yes. Am I removing him from his napping location? No. It's still warm. He doesn't care. Let's go ahead and pull this off from the Hisstank. There we go. Get off. Get go. There it goes. All right. Pick up the Hisstank and move it a bit more so we don't continue messing up my tablecloth. Now we got to get at the vamp, which I put over here, out of my way, and multiple figures between me and it because I like a challenge. Knock over everything in front of the vamp. Pick the vamp up. Knock it into something else because, just for good measure. And now let's rotate that backwards. And here is the vamp. And let's go ahead and attach the vamp because everybody attaches the vamp and shows how that works. But that you have to fold the point of the trailer hitch thing. It's got a bar, it's got 2 hinges, and each is attached to a bar hinge, and you fold it up so the bar hinge is inside the mechanism, and then that allows it to be high enough to reach the trailer hitch on the vamp. Now the trailer hitch on the vamp is annoying because it's in there a bit. You gotta get your fingers in there and try to match locations. Come on. Ugh. Oh, maybe if I move this way. There it goes. Got it in there. Cool. Wasn't in one, but it was in. Now it's not even in really well, but it works. It's actually bit into it. It's connected. All right. Now the missiles can't go forwards on this guy because the connection's too short. So the missiles do have to be folded so that they're facing into the rear, and that means that we can now poke Cream with the missiles. Poke him with the missiles. And it rolls really well. I love how this rolls. Cream. He just purrs. He's just purring. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that he's being attacked by Cobra. Cobra's attacking you, Cream. Oh, well. Anyway, that is the HMS system. I love it. I think it's a good system. My overall rating of it, the HMS by itself, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because I do think that they should have given us something to allow the figure to stand on top of it and a place to plug in the hose that the Techno Viper has. Those are 2 things I wish they had done with the HMS. They didn't do. That's some points knocked off in my opinion. The Techno Viper, on the other hand, I'm going to give the Techno Viper a 6 out of 10. Because the figure is amazing, but we've already come to expect amazing figures from G.I. Joe Classified. And he would be getting a stronger number, in my opinion, if it wasn't for the fact that he's got such crappy rubber weapons. A gun that's too heavy for the arm, and these rubberized tools that feel like they're just one bad day from splitting in half. They don't feel solid to me. The gun feels way too solid and too heavy. And that hose, the connector for the backpack, just does not work. There's a lot wrong with the Techno Viper, and there's a lot right with the HMS. And together, I think that makes it out to be like a 7.5 out of a possible 10. The Techno Viper and HMS systems added together. But I have blathered on long enough today with you about all of this. I hope all of you out there are having a beautiful, wonderful day. I know my cat Cream's having a great day because he's just been spending it sleeping, haven't you? Huh? Who's a sleepy guy? He's a sleepy guy. He's a sleepy guy. He's a sleepy guy. You want to stand up and get things done? No. Cream sleeps, as orange cats should. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and please tune into my channel, blind_prime, where I raise awareness for the blind and the visually impaired through alternative means and methods, as this is including 2 but not limited to G.I. Joe Classified series. So, check me out next time. We're going to be covering Detritus from Transformers Legacy. Bye-bye for now.